to order our regular meeting. All right. Board of Education. First off, we need to add a couple things for the off the agenda. We're going to add an item 6A, quick claim deed, and we're going to add item 9A for track report. So, someone wants to move and approve the amended agenda.
I would approve the amended agenda.
Okay, Gina?
I'll second.
Bree. Motion by Gina, seconded by Bree, that we adopt the amended agenda. Any other discussion? All in favor? 6-0. Okay. Delegations? None. Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Consent agenda you'll find to be the approval of minutes of our regular meeting of April 10th and then our special meeting of April 28th. And then we'll have payment of the bills, which you can find in your packet. Treasurer's report also there, clerk's report. And then we have donations of $1,500 from the PTCO for athletic equipment. So thank you for that donation. Any additions or corrections to the minutes that anyone saw, or anything, questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jessica. Motion by Jason, seconded by Jessica, to approve the items listed on the consent agenda, consisting of the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of April 10th, 2023, and the special meeting of April 28th, 2023, approve payment of the bills, approve the treasurer's report, approve the clerk's report, and approve the $1,500 donation from PTCO for athletic equipment. Any other discussion? All in favor? 6-0. Okay, thank you for that donation to the PTCO. Okay, moving on to number 5, KSBRC discussion.
So, yeah, I handed out a letter to you from the Kansas School Board Resource Center about training workshops and different opportunities for board members. You know, we live in a political world of smoke and mirrors, and I would say this is an example of the smoke. When you dig into the Kansas School Board Resource Center, it doesn't take you long to find out that it is a subsidiary of the Kansas Policy Institute, which is, of course, the Koch brothers, anti-public education, education's overfunded, mismanaged money, school vouchers, just the whole kind of dismantling of public education as though it is a failed experiment. So I just wanted you to be aware that that was the entity that was behind this. They are kind of putting themselves in a position, much like Kansas Association of School Boards, that they are a legitimate resource center for school boards. And although I can certainly admit that there is a lot of money that may be mismanaged in education, to paint us with that broad brush is egregious at best and shameful at worst, because we don't have the resources to take care of our district as it is, as you know, with the explanation of our facility needs and everything like that. So while there's probably mismanagement of funds where there's a gazillion dollars in a school district, we are not one of those districts. So it is offensive to me that this brush gets painted across USD 298 that there's some problem. I have said since many times, our staff does a wonderful job, our kids are educated well, we live within our means, we do the best we can do, but we are not overfunded, we are not teaching CRT, we're not woke, we're not whatever you want to call it. We have local control and we're doing a good job. And I just want you to be aware when this kind of stuff comes in, just be wary, research, and understand the source, because the source always has an angle. So that's just a word of caution. You're more than welcome to go to any of those training sessions. But I wanted you to be aware that that's being pushed out there now as a resource for school boards, but it is agenda heavy.
Any other comments on that? Thank you. Okay, KESA review for accreditation.
Part of our accreditation process includes informing the board of our process. So we are in year 2 of the 5-year accreditation cycle. We met with our outside visitation team, which is OVT. All we did was review our goals, so I did not bring the district leadership team in. They couldn't meet till late. We're having troubles with subs, and I really couldn't pull 6 or 8 people out of classrooms just to go over our goals. Just so you're aware, and people that are learning as we're going here, we have 2 goals for our KESA accreditation. Our first goal is to increase kindergarten readiness by implementing a 3-year-old preschool program daily, and at the end of 5 years, 80% of our kindergartners will achieve grade level benchmarks in early numeracy and literacy. Well, as you know, we have implemented 3-year-old preschool daily this year at the half a day, and next year we're going to go to all day. And the data is showing tremendous growth in those youngsters, and they're getting way past their age level, and we're seeing a lot of success. So we will, every year we will be monitoring the data, so at the end of the 5 years we can determine if we've been successful in meeting that goal. Our second goal was to develop and create a technical education center that is easily accessible and gives our students the opportunity to achieve graduation success. And at the end of 5 years, we will increase our post-secondary effectiveness rate by 25%. We're currently 52-ish% on our effective rate. So the effectiveness is, it's kind of silly, because we have to track our kids 2 years after they graduate, and then we're responsible for that 2 years that we don't have them to see if they're successful. So the easiest way to guarantee that effectiveness is if they have some sort of an industry recognized credential upon graduation. So we are working on industry recognized credentials. CNA is one of them, and you know that we had several CNA graduates, so they are certified and considered successful by the state prior to graduating. So that's what we're trying to do, is take control of that, give these opportunities to get those credentials, because in all honesty, once they graduate, we have no control at all. And so we will monitor that for 5 years, and as we continue to add programs and get credentials in welding and automotive technician, then those kids will be considered successful high school graduates while they're in high school. So those are our 2 goals. The OVT team sat down, and that consists of Jeff Travis from Beloit and Troy Langdon, the superintendent at Osborne. They went through our goals, they looked at our data, they said everything looks great, they did their report and submitted it to the state as well. They are actually, to tell you the truth, impressed with the direction we're going, and the superintendent at Osborne, when we talked about the early learning center with 3 and 4-year-olds, and then the child care center, his one comment was, can you come to Osborne and do that there? So I tell you, we're doing really good things, and people are noticing, and they're wanting to copy some of the things that we're doing. And that's always been my goal, is to be a place where people say, how did they do that, instead of us always trying to figure out what other people are doing. We are leading in a lot of these areas. The technical college, that's a huge leadership for our district. The early learning center, all day 3 and 4-year-old, and the child care center. We are leading progress in small rural districts, and people are noticing. So a lot of kudos to our staff and to our administrator for the hard work that goes into that. So we have completed our year 2 KESA review.
Okay.
It's just a report. Yeah, we'll have to approve the goals. We'll have to see if we meet those benchmarks benchmark goals at the end of 5 years. But we still, at year 3, we can review if we need to make some shifts in programming or something. We can play with that and try to reach those goals for accreditation.
Okay. Next is the quitclaim deed. And that is, I can speak to this, I'll probably step out when we vote on it, but my folks actually purchased an 80 of ground that contains property that was owned by the school district of an old schoolhouse. There's so many acres that were on the corner of it that were still needed as school property. And so in order to get everything cleared up, because the school doesn't, I assume they don't need use of one-room schoolhouses anymore, it has to be signed off on in order to move it all through the process. So I don't know if there's anything else that really needs.
It's not an unusual thing. In 2015, there was also a quitclaim deed for some land of a one-room schoolhouse in the northwest, area. Whatever those schoolhouses were, that was school property. So this isn't an unusual thing to just get it out of the school's deed and transfer it over to the landowner.
Okay. No, it was just a private sale. So, give that permission to read that and call it back.
Not bad. Just start out.
Okay.
That's the motion. Do I have a motion in regards to the quitclaim deed?
I move we approve the quitclaim deed.
Do I have a second? Motion by Jason, seconded by Bree, that the USD 298 Board of Education approve a title clearing quitclaim deed on a tract of Panzer land recently sold pertaining to defunct rural school district number 5, unused by district since number 5's disorganization. All in favor? 5-0.
Next up, we have supplemental position approval. You'll find that paper in the stack of pages of the deed. It says 24 supplementals. As per usual, anything yellow is not filled today. Here's what we don't have it.
Have we approached anybody about that for high school football?
We're letting the coach work on that. We let the coaches kind of work on their assistants instead of forcing them. So I think Colby's trying to figure something out, whether he's going to stay with 4. We had 4 last year. I don't think a 5th would be a bad thing as far as when junior high's going, but Colby will make that determination whether or not he wants a 5th or a 4. We'll be able to go.
Mrs. Flynn's not doing tracking, she doesn't have to.
The activities director.
I'm pretty ecstatic.
I don't want to jinx myself though, so I'll be quiet.
Okay.
Okay. There's no other discussion on supplementals.
I move that we approve the supplemental contracts. Submitted.
Motion by Gina, seconded by Jessica, that USD 298 Board of Education approve the list of 2023-2024 supplemental positions as suggested. All in favor? Disposal of technology equipment. Some old laptops, is there a list of that stuff for us, or we just?
I don't think that it's in, I have an actual quote here from a company. It looks like we're looking at 55 Apple iPad Generation 2, 30 Apple iPad Generation 4, 12 laptops. That were Hewlett-Packard 4250s, 10 laptops, Hewlett-Packard Extreme 11s, 6 Lenovo ThinkPads of a certain model, 6 of another model, 2 Hewlett-Packard desktop towers, and then 9 of another model of desktop towers. I talked to Rich quite a bit about these. A lot of them we don't have chargers for. They're unfortunately absolutely worthless, to tell you the truth. They're going to give us $2 a piece for laptops. We're talking about the total of disposing of this technology at $248. But that is the lifespan of technology. They're very old and very out of date and unusable. We had sold some at garage sales in the past, but these don't even rate that. So Rich has got this buyback quote, and he gave it to me, and I told him I would present it to the board for action so that we can get those stacks of old stuff out of the way. It accumulates quickly. The other items, I've got some electrical upgrades that I need to do at the tech center. We only hooked up 5 of the 10 welding booths with power because we were kind of in a rush and kind of in a pinch. I also need to move some other power around the Ford dealership in Salina. Long MacArthur is very supportive. We've taken 2 field trips there. They're donating a tire system and a tire balancing system, and I need power hookups for that. They're talking about bringing in a automatic transmission system and putting it in one of the bays, that we would have a tire bay, mechanic bay, or what would you call it, engine bay. We could have a transmission bay, but I need power for those things. Could be several $1,000s. So what I would like to propose is the big blue diesel engine crane that's in there, that's really a little out of our league for the work we do, and like permission to liquidate that and put that money, it came with the building, put that money towards those upgrades so we can continue with that automotive mindset and not tractor trailer diesel repair. The other thing, so that's the second approval if you do so for disposal. The third thing would be, we've been 2 years now with the central kitchen. Is that right, Nikki? Mm-hmm. 2 years with the central kitchen. I met Mrs. Buttonhoff over at the LES basement kitchen last week, and we just went through everything, and she put tape on everything that she could use at the high school. Well, we're sitting on a lot of stuff down there that's just sitting. It could produce revenue if we wanted to put that in. The board has approved a lot of disposal we haven't disposed of yet. The old ovens out of the high school, different things, and we're trying to schedule a time when Purple Wave will come out and they manage the auction. They take the pictures, they post them, and they run the auction. And it's no charge if you're a government agency, which we are. I would like the board to discuss, are we solid enough with a central kitchen that we don't need that downstairs kitchen? We have a pretty sizable Vulcan oven down there, 8 burners on top, it's big. And then there's also a regular convection convection oven, which is like the ones we have at the high school, the 2-door smaller oven. We could keep that oven there for concession stand for the pizza, mini pizzas or things like that that they sell. But we absolutely have no use for that big Vulcan oven. It won't fit in the lineup at the high school under the hood. It's just simply too big. There are rolling carts and pots and pans and just a lot of commercial restaurant equipment that now that Mrs. Buttonoff has looked at it, she marked what she wants. I really don't know what to do with the rest of the stuff. And then I would like you just to, decide if it's something we want to liquidate and get the money and move on.
I think the central kitchen's been working out okay, hasn't it?
I think so. I think it's,
You guys can speak to that better than us, but if, as long as things are working, that stuff's just gonna lose value over time, it's not gonna,
Yeah.
you know.
As the food service director, which is a good title I get to have as well, I don't ever see us going back to 2 kitchens, ever.
Even if we did, going down in that basement's not really
No,
ideal.
not really.
The spot for it.
And as the other building administrator, Mrs. Flynn, would you agree that, what are your thoughts? Is that kitchen ever going to be utilized again? It's just a storage area right now.
It's not very efficient, and I don't think that we'll ever be able to fully staff 2 kitchens. We already struggle staffing 1, in my opinion. It
I
is
wish we
working.
could fit that piece in the high school. It's new, but we have new ovens. And our burner top is in pretty good shape, but it's quite a piece. It's a big piece, and I don't know when it was purchased, but it's not that old. Must have been just before I got here.
It was, if I remember right.
But it's not something that could be used if we had one go down at the high school.
No. It's huge. I don't even know how.
I don't know how it comes out.
In pieces.
There's some things that we've drug out of there. I'm not
Yeah,
sure that
yeah.
some other things need to come out.
I guess if they can't be utilized, I'd be in favor of getting rid of what we don't need and moving on.
On your list of stuff that we've approved disposal and haven't, is the Suburban still something that we have on disposal that we approved or not?
I think that we approved it at one time, but we didn't because baseball uses it now.
Do they use it now? Okay.
It gets used daily.
Okay.
There is a custom painted small
Is
bus
there
if
a bus
anybody's
still around?
interested in a camper conversion.
I just knew there was a few other things.
I have
that
a
they
lot of
would
stuff.
maybe
We just
been
haven't-
saying.
We just haven't had time to get it, and I'm thinking this summer we'll get Purple Wave here, and we won't just onesie and twosie it, we're gonna have an auction. A lot of stuff.
And sometimes you can say, as is, where is, and
Yeah.
they get to figure out how to get it home.
Out of the basement. I figured.
Don't tell them it's in the basement.
So you just have a.
Do you want a motion for all of this together, or just the technology equipment and then the other stuff? 'Cause I have one for technology, but I can make it work for everything.
It could be everything, it's fine if
Okay.
everybody agrees to that.
Okay, here, I'll read through what all we have. Did you get here for all of this discussion, Mr. Bell?
The last part of it.
Okay, start off with, we have 6 ThinkPads, 10 laptops, 55 iPads, 30 iPads, and 12 laptops that are all outdated, and we have a quote to having them purchased by someone, a buyback quote. We would like to liquidate, Long MacArthur is sending some stuff, and we're thinking of moving out the big engine lift and using the funds from it to upgrade electricity at the tech building, need more welders and plugins for a tire machine.
Is that something that would be on auction too, or do you have a buyer in mind for that?
I might have a buyer.
And then, unused, unwanted stuff that is in the kitchen and the basement would be all that would be in that motion, if that's agreeable to everyone. Okay. So, if I could have a motion Jason, seconded by Gina, that USD 298 Board of Education approve the disposal of technology and equipment that is antiquated or no longer in working order. Any other discussion? Can that be as equipment, or do you want me to specify? I can specify equipment, including the engine lift at the tech building and ovens, carts, and pans at the grade school that is antiquated or no longer in working order. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Any? 7-0.
Moving on to
Okay, I think we're ready for 9. Class size caps, ball caps, or?
Well, I wish it was that easy. So, I was actually reading about Norman Schwarzkopf today, if anybody remembers him. And his famous quote was a report about, does anybody remember the Kuwait War when Norman was in charge? And there was a storm at Norman. And he had a classic line where there was a report about how the war was going, and he said he considered that to be bovine scatology, which has always stuck with me, which he then had to define for the journalists that it was just simply BS. And that was his definition of that. So out of Topeka, every once in a while, I think we get a little bovine scatology. And one of the requirements that we're going to have to do with the open borders, where kids can go to any school district they choose, no matter where they live, anywhere in the state, is we are going to have to determine our capacity as a school district. And this decision has to be made by January. I just wanted to start planting the bug in your ear because there's a lot of confusion and misdirection right now. If we don't determine our capacity, our class size capacity, then we just have to accept anybody. We could have somebody from Sedgwick County that wants to come to school in Lincoln, Kansas, and we have to accept them unless we are at capacity. So the lawyers right now at KSB are working diligently to filter through the information that the legislators have put out to try to determine what that exactly means. In an elementary setting, it's pretty simple. How big do you want your classes to be? We have one section in each grade. Do you want the cap to be 24? That's our capacity, and if we're there, we accept no other students. Unfortunately, at the secondary level, you might have an art class with 10 and a science class with 22, or a single class of English, like a junior class that only has 1 hour that they meet, that could have 22, 23, 24 kids in it. So the mystery is, what is true capacity? And the lawyers are trying to figure out if it can be a teacher to student ratio district-wide or not. And if that comes out to be, on average, 15 to 1, students to teacher, 17 to 1, that can be our capacity. But I just wanted to plant this bug in your ear. It seems like it's a long ways away, but it'll get here, and we'll have to make those decisions. And as the lawyers at KSB filter through and determine how to meet this requirement, and they have recommendations, I'll continue to share those with you. There's obviously a lot of concern with this open borders, as they call it, law. If a student has an IEP, then the district is responsible for transportation. So if we would get a student from Salina that wanted to come here, we would inherit the responsibility of that. There's just a lot of fog around this one that they're trying to sort through. So I wanted to let you know it was coming. We can think, where we are, because there will come a point, and Mrs. Flynn and I have talked about this a lot, when you reach a tipping point, and whether that's 24 elementary kids, and then you say if you go to 25, you'll consider another teacher, you need to understand you're hiring another staff member for one kid. So the aid that comes from the state doesn't compensate for that staff, And that's where your budget starts getting kind of wacky, because you go to, say you're at 24 and you go to 25, and then you end up with a class of 13 and a class of 12, but you only added one student, but you added a staff member, and you take our base salary and benefits, and you're looking at $45,000+ for a $7,000-8,000 state aid, and then we are funding that. So it's very strategic on class size, because you can get yourself in some real financial issues by adding too many for too few, if that makes sense. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I just wanted to plant that seed that it was coming.
Is that something that can be changed year to year, or is it still too new to?
It's too new to
No.
yet.
So if
You
the
just-
cap size was set at 24 students, for instance, at the grade school per class, I mean, if there was a family coming to town and they were gonna have a student in that class, they would not be accepted?
That's for out of district.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
that's for the open borders thing.
okay.
We still take care of our boundaries, but that's the, and then there's some provisions, military families get first, then it goes, it can go to a lottery, but military families get first pick before it goes to a lottery if you have your capacity, but you have too many that want to come in.
So we potentially could, if we set it at 24, we could still have a class size of 28 if they're all within our district. But then we're capped out, we're not accepting anyone.
That's my understanding of it. Again, it's going to be discussed for quite some time, leading up to January.
That all comes to, yeah, once again, it probably all comes down to enrollment, everybody enrolls, and then we tell you, like, we can't come because we are full. Okay.
It's always good when those that know the least about education make all the laws about education.
Oh, yes. Yes. One of those from a seat 200 miles away, so they would need to do here. Okay, we added a 9A for those that came to play. Track report, we're gonna have a report on the fundraiser for the track this past Saturday.
So I think everybody's there. We were out of town, but I think everybody else was there. We had a fantastic turnout to start. I think we had about 150 people there. That's our best. Yes, we didn't count every head, but we had the teams turn in their laps at the end of the night. So before they left, they came and reported their laps to us. Just from the teams that were there, which there were 14 of them, they walked 474.5 miles. And that doesn't include everybody else who was there who walked and didn't report their miles, or their laps. That's a ton. How far can we go? 474 miles. It's huge. So again, we had 14 teams. A lot of fundraising went on. Between the money we've physically collected and the money that has been pledged and not collected yet, we are just over $17,000 from Saturday night. That does not include the PTCO's concession stand, which they pledged to donate all of their proceeds back to Track Fundraiser. And that does not include the $5,000 from each bank, the $5,000 from the Lions Club, and then we have a personal donation of $50,000 over the next 3 years. So it's $16,666, whatever, a year for the next 3 years. The bank Tuscan also did another $5,000 each year for the next 2 years. So all of that added together with what we've already raised, we're right at about $252,000.
We didn't even know, so how the Lions Club?
We do. They gave us $5,000.
Oh,
It's
that's
awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
But I think it was a very successful event. Everybody seemed to have a lot of fun. Like I said, there were a ton of people there, a ton of faces. We had money come all the way larger donors. So we really feel as we go to companies, or the Post-Rock Community Foundation, or anything that's more corporate, and they start giving us larger amounts of money, they generally want to be recognized for that somehow. We initially discussed doing something on the side of the field house that corresponded with our levels, which I think is a great way to do it. Their names are there, forever. We've also discussed different advertising options, but our committee has asked if the board would start thinking about what we really want to approve as far as recognition for the larger corporate donors, or even personal donors.
And your 252 does not include the match from the county yet.
The 252 does, yes. We've hit our $24,000 mark to get that, or $80,000 over the last 6 months.
Yes, that's very good.
Ready on, decision on our approval of recognition stuff tonight, or can we?
No, but I think it would be nice to discuss it, because it has been asked a couple of times with some of the larger companies we've approached, and, they're talking about giving $20,000 or $30,000, but they are asking, like, what do we get, like, where's our name gonna be, because, of course, makes sense, and we're just, need some guidance there.
I was
We
at
can't
the
sell it.
Minneapolis football field last, I guess it was 2 Saturdays ago for soccer, and I was showing Mr. Crenshaw some pictures I took that they have banners that they attached to the chain link fence for people that gave money towards their project there at certain levels. And then, I know we don't have turf, but their bigger donors had their logos actually painted onto the turf, and so I tried to take a couple pictures of that, and I could share that with you
And
guys.
the
to
banners
show.
are pretty common,
Yeah.
a lot of places do banners.
We always have them on the east.
Yeah, the East Ball Field, the rec has done it on the East Ball Field for sponsors in years past. I think that's a great option. I do like finding a way to, embellize some of these larger donors on Field House or.
I don't know if there's any regulations. I've seen business names put around the scoreboard. We have 3 sides on the scoreboard, and I don't know, Mrs. Flynn, the scoreboard's off the playing field. We could even probably put 2 more poles outside of it, and you could have permanent metal. The banners are great, but this is a very windy area, and banners, I would think, would
They
take
do,
a beating.
yeah, you have to kind of cut a hole.
Yeah, these would be a permanent kind of a thing that could go all the way around the scoreboard.
I
Another
was
thing
thinking
that's been,
at one point, I think it had Pepsi underneath the scoreboard many, many, many years ago. So it is doable.
another thing that just to share ideas, because it's just been battered about, is having clubs that relate to the new track, where there's a threshold, and this is the 3,200 meter club, the 1,600 meter club, 800, 400, 200, 100, and that could be a metal, but that could be something that could be fabricated. Our plasma cutter will do 4x4 sheets of steel, and those could be easily removed and have names added as they come, but, rather than paint on them.
Right.
I was looking around while we were walking, and I just think, wow, the south side of that concession stand, look how those doors have faded in the sun, and paint always degrades, but, a 4x4 sheet that needed another one added to it would be great, but just to have that kind of, I'm here for the big race, the 3,200 meter, maybe that's your $20,000
Yeah.
guy.
And that's what we've kind of done, the diamond, platinum, gold, silver, bronze, and come up with price or donation levels to meet each one of those, but we still don't really have answers to, well, this is what you get. John had also offered to work with students in a marketing class or whatever the case may be, to help them produce nice looking, organized pamphlets or leaflets that go in each sporting event. I think currently ours have rosters on the inside, and then is it alumni or PTCO members on the back?
PTCO,
PTCO.
Booster Club,
Yeah,
yoga.
Yeah. But add some advertisement in there, which then you can also sell more advertising. So, I mean, like I said, everybody's received an email and just some ideas to toss around and come up with what's gonna work the best for everyone.
I think the trouble, I mean, some of the larger donors, you know, there's only so much space for
Right.
that. You can't give everybody that donates $1,000.
No, we're talking
Yeah, I know what
20
you
and
mean.
above. Yeah.
But, you know, you have to figure out what that level is and what they get for that level.
Right.
Because for $20,000, if it was me, I'd want more than a banner cut on the fence.
Right.
But,
absolutely.
and so, you know, it could be a combination of both. At this level, we could put a banner up on the fence. At this level, we could get a more permanent deal.
Yeah, and I think
That idea.
well, that's kind of a
But I don't know
general
what that,
direction, we just don't know what that looks like.
I don't know what levels.
Yeah, so on the banner thing, is that they get put up during track meets, and they're just hang at our 2 track meets?
Well, generally you leave them up
Or football season.
all the time.
So they be up all the time. So when they get torn and ripped, the company that donated that helps replace them, or it's another expense for the school to replace them? Because my next question is, do they hang for the 30-year lifespan of the track, or do they hang for 5 years, 10? I like the metal side because we put that sucker up, paint it, and it's gonna be there. That's, to me, that's a,
For probably at least 5, if not 10 years.
yeah, for 10 years, and if it needs repainted, we'd probably pull it down and repaint it, or, you know, at that point, it would probably be redone.
And that could be something that was spelled out to the donors,
Right.
that we'll put up this for 5 years, and at that point, you know, if you
Yeah.
want to donate again.
Yeah, I guess that's-
You know, type of thing.
That's still my concern with sometime, you know, we're hoping this is a 30-year deal, so who's gonna, none of us may still be here, who's gonna make sure some of that carries on, or how that
Right.
functions? So that
So
was,
generally, when you do the banners, they come with the donation the first time. And then if after the first year they are damaged, it's the business's option to replace them.
okay, well, that's,
Or if
And that makes
if they
sense.
make it through the first year and at year 2 they need to be replaced, or a phone number needs to be changed, or we've got a new logo, that's fine. We will either take it down, or you can pay to have it replaced. The banners aren't that
And
expensive.
the banners that hang like at the fairground, I know for the banks, like when our banner went up, they said if it gets rowdy and damaged and we want that replaced, then it's on us to
Yeah.
get that done.
and as a track committee, that would be something you guys
Yeah.
could carry on.
Yeah. It's just
Okay.
something that has to be communicated on. a
And
daily
another thing I
basis.
did wonder about, like if you use the plasma cutter, could you do something more like trying to just think the permanent option with this, less upkeep? Could you even do something where maybe names are smaller for the smaller donors, like the 500s and the 1000s, and then for those bigger
Easier
ones,
to
they
read.
get like
Yeah,
a bigger,
Or
yeah,
whatever.
like
Yeah.
you can see it much clearer or has better placement.
Kind of like the little plaques in the concrete.
Yeah,
parks. Those
yeah.
turned out to be
Yeah,
quite a deal, and sometimes wish we could do more of them, because some of us didn't hop on the bandwagon when it was done, but if you saw that, and if it was a sign, it could be
Yeah.
added to
Well, and I
it.
think that was also kind of our thought, you know, we have people who are donating $1,000, and there's quite a few of them, really. But do we just do it like you do a trophy at the school, and like I said, every year, if we need to add something to it, you can, there's a little bit of space left. And that's those smaller ones, and
Yes.
then,
Yeah, because you're probably not gonna have as many names.
you know, our $30,000 donors could be around the scoreboard.
standpoint for our AD and the administrative team, a visible place to put them. Because we really don't have any good fencing close by. If you put it on First Street, then anybody that parked concession stand and south probably would never see them. But that's where the plastic leopard head is, that's missing pieces. But, you know, that's really our only visible fence.
Yeah.
If you put it over behind the visitors, you'll never see it across the stand,
Right.
just the whole field. So the banner hanging is a challenge because we really don't have that place. We don't have a curved chain link fence around one end of the track where you could put it
It was
on.
along North Street,
But that's the biggest stretch of fence we
Yeah.
have, if that was acceptable to everybody.
I think
Yeah,
it's a
just have to
benefit to have
notice.
it along the street because then anybody sees it
As you
versus
drive by.
if they were within the facility, only the people that are attending functions there would see it. I guess like for somebody that is giving money, I think you might as well just put it out there and have it be more visible and.
Yeah.
But entrance, gate entrance,
Yeah, from the gate entrance, like
Just
north
line
and
the
all that
fence.
fence. And
yeah.
Do you have who do you have in mind, like who's gonna update them year after year and contact the donors?
Well, I'm assuming that's gonna become part of the track committee, but
Great answer. That's it.
I can't commit everybody on the track committee, and who knows, I mean, I think the track committee will continue to change and evolve as we get further into this, you know.
Yeah, well, that was one of my questions too, was who, you know, who does it fall on, because it's
Yeah.
It is
something to do, yes, it's upkeep.
Yeah.
Once again, things we can do that don't require that, but go ahead.
As I scan through the email, I haven't digested it all, but the putting advertising on the pit covers, they're taken off an hour before any teams get there, and there's no events that go on during track season with the rest, so I don't think they would be visible. I don't think it'd be an effective
I don't think
acknowledgement.
it's a good use of,
And and as we know, they get beat to death as we're buying a $5,000 cover for the pole trip.
But if someone wants to put their name on it and pay for the $5,000 kit.
They can drive by anytime there's not a track meet and see it.
Yes. I would appreciate the donation.
but that's where we're at. I thought it would be worthwhile to update everybody. We're gonna work with Greta to make sure she gets all the money so we can approve the donation at the next meeting. And hopefully we have a little bit more to add to that item.
Okay.
We should be heading back on a couple of other options.
So at this, just so we're, at this point, what do we support for promotion, just so that there's a consensus for everyone? So I understand where we're at. The metal sign, something around the scoreboard, we're all in agreement if we can come to something there.
For the high
Even if
level.
it's self-standing or around the scoreboard's probably something there.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be a high enough level that there's not 30 of them, you know.
Yes.
In my mind, I don't, if you have 30 different
plus the thing is,
sponsors
Right.
around there, it takes away from it.
if we need another 250,000, $50,000 people,
Right, yeah, something like that's fine.
or 4 and a bunch of smaller ones, or 3 and smaller ones.
So you'd have to make sure that that level is high enough,
Right.
but yeah, you don't want to set it too high that nobody is interested, so.
And you could do the mid ones do the metal on the north side of the field house, right? You could do the metal, that would be
Or
right
on
there.
the west side?
Guess I'm wondering if you could cut out a 4x4 chunk, could you put like all of the, I don't know if you want to put it along the walkway, or this is just brainstorming, but if you had all the one level of donors on one side, then you went to the next one and it was the next level, and then
Right.
we're like there, but I agree, if you have $30,000 donors, that's a lot of small names, and you about have to walk under the scoreboard in order to actually
See it.
pick them out.
And I
You
think
need that.
that's, I mean, I would envision that being more
And I guess I'm not sure.
somewhere
what's-
else, not at the scoreboard,
Yes.
like we need to find a different place if,
Like a 20,000 or above on the
Mhm.
scoreboard or something
yes.
to that
Yeah.
level of commitment.
Because if the locker room house is painted white and you had a piece of metal in front of it, you know, whatever, it'd be easy to read the names.
Their names
Yeah.
through it, yes.
And you said on the west side? Would that be the
West
north
and
side?
That's-
North side.
Right, north.
The north side, that'd be the side everybody sees.
Everybody
If you're going to the
As
concession
they're going
stand,
or
you're
walking
you're
away.
walking back and forth.
Or it could be a standalone thing along the sidewalk somewhere too, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Get someone to-
We gotta watch out for our handicap parking taking up their visibility.
If they sit
Yeah.
there to watch the game and stuff, yeah.
I think I mean, if we know kind of what direction we're going,
Okay.
we're a ways off from that, obviously, so we've got time
Yes.
to
Because another
figure out all of the fine points, but.
Another location we haven't talked about is on the backside of the stadium.
Yeah, and there's a ton of space there that is unused.
It was just on the
Yeah.
poles or something.
Well, up on top, hanging down.
Hanging down,
Yes.
yeah.
That's a classic spot. That can be seen from the street
Mhm.
and,
Yeah, and we, as a committee, have discussed that as we walked around down there.
or on the south side of the stadium.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Or if the kids can't reach it.
Right, as long as the kids don't use it as a climbing.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So anything metal and then banners,
Metal and banners. Okay,
okay.
More permanent for the higher level, and then banners type of thing for
the
the
lower levels.
lower levels, and then a recognition plaque of some sort for.
We'll figure something out. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. It's a huge help.
All right. Admin report.
Wasn't ready. Lots of things to celebrate. Start with the high school. State forensics was this weekend. We took 6 kids in multiple events. They did well. They got second in league. State powerlifting was a couple weeks ago. Girls ended up 6th. Several people got first or placed in their individual events, and then overall placers in their weight. Also, league powerlifting several weeks ago, we got first for the girls for the umpteenth time in a row, which is fantastic, and third for the boys. Levi Bates got a 1 at regional and took his trumpet solo to state and did really well there. That was 2 weekends ago. Art students went to NPL League, placed numerous events, also then went on to the Fort Hays State art show and placed in multiple events, so our program's doing really well. FFA, they're doing really well. They just went to a livestock judging. Jonathan Bell placed 14th out of 97, so our FFA is in the right direction. You saw about our ACT scores. CNA, we had 6 kids get their CNA certificate. All of them passed did the CNA classes, so that was a huge celebration. And then the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge, I told you about the last board meeting about the county level, but then on the state level, we sent 2 teams and they placed third and 4th overall, and that's class 1 through 6A in the state. So huge success for them. They brought home quite a bit of money. So that's all that's going on at the high school. Elementary school wrapping up state assessments, and they started in on their fast bridge, so we'll be getting a lot of data to compare how we've grown from fall, winter to spring. 5th graders are going to Starbase all week. Several grades are going on their yearly field trips. So just wrapping up the year, it's complete mad chaos. But 9 days, or 8.5 if you're counting. So
Hours,
yeah,
organized kids.
yeah, 8.5. We'll have early out here for the high school, junior high kids. kids, so several kids are counting down. Tomorrow is the seniors' last day. Graduation is Saturday at 10. We will have rehearsal Friday morning at 8:15. If any or all of you would like to attend, we'll probably do what we did last year with just the president and vice president on the stage and handing out diplomas, and then we'll have everyone else on the floor, and then walk over and shake hands of the graduates as they come off the stage, similar to last year. If you want to meet in the office, we'll have boutonniere corsages, whatever they're called, for you before graduation at 10 on Saturday. Trying to think if there's anything else.
9:30, 9:15?
Yeah, 9:30, just enough to be able to pin you.
Okay.
Trying to think. I think that's it. Like I said, mass chaos right now. Everyone's in full countdown. We are doing Teacher Appreciation Week. I did get lots and lots of comments about their day off last Monday. I think they were very, very appreciative of you giving them just the time, whether it was for the personal use or working in their classroom. I know they were very appreciative of that. Mr. Crenshaw and I are doing, it's technically Teacher Appreciation Week this week, so we've been doing things for them every day, or we have things planned for them every day. So.
Most of them were confused by the cupcakes and ice cream and didn't know what we were,
Yeah.
how are you doing?
Well, I didn't tell them. I just told them there was a staff meeting. I didn't say why.
Yes. I think at the elementary school it's kind of the same, but Bree stood up and said, this is why we're here, and we want to thank you, and all the
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
we heard from a lot of them while we were there. I mean, they expressed their appreciation for having that day off.
Yep, and John told them, and then we introduced ourselves as far as who we were.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did sit there after we left though, and waiting on the meeting that.
Yeah,
What's happening?
Yeah, and I was gone. I don't remember where I was at, but I wasn't there. I got a text message, what's going on? I'm like, nothing. That's it, just cupcakes. Surprise.
While we're on graduation, suit and tie, full tux. I was thinking a long sleeve shirt and a tie, if everyone's okay with that. Since it's gonna be inside, I'll make everyone okay with that. Tie and a shirt, you ladies can decide what you want to wear, but
Okay, that's all.
somewhat close. Okay. That'll work. I know last year it came down to texting before, what you wear.
And after, tomorrow's their last day, so once we have final grades, we'll have diplomas, probably Wednesday, Thursday, probably Thursday, Friday.
They're already on it.
I already signed it, where have you been?
Oh, well, no promises at all.
I guess if I sign it and they don't pass, you can just toss that one in the trash.
Okay,
Okay.
lots of tests today, nervous kids.
Worried about the big good. Is that like preparation on your part, or?
We always have a couple that like to wait till the end.
Shouldn't have to sweat your final week in high school. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Questions from people? Okay. Got it.
All right, I have several things since this will be kind of the last one for the school year. Our preschool roundup was a lot of fun. We currently have 21 4-year-olds and 15 3-year-olds. We're going to try to figure out how to accommodate those numbers. Our child care facility is full. It's actually over full. And our numbers are based on square footage, so I guess we picked the wrong building for that. So we're going to make adjustments so that that works. We haven't found out whether this entity has been funded or not, but I would like to take a moment to once again brag on our people. Nikki Flynn, Krista Biggs, and Eric Solter worked really, really hard on an early childhood grant, and they were awarded $127,000 if the legislators fund the program. And we haven't been able to find out if it's going to be funded or not, but we did get the award letter, and these are not like job applications that you can can sit down and fill out in 15 minutes while you're at a restaurant. They put in hours and hours for that. And so, again, I just like to always point out to the board how hard our staff works to make everything here successful. And if they do fund that, that is a tremendous amount of money for the startup costs that we're facing on those two programs, the all-day 3-year-old, all-day 4-year-old, and the child care center. And 127 grand is nothing to sneeze at. Yours truly, that being me, is currently working on a safety and secure schools grant that is due the 17th of May. Our cameras at the grade school are probably the oldest in the district. They're kind of challenging when we have an incident and you try to zoom in, and the first click you do, everything pixelates and then you can't see who the people are. So I'm working on a $75,000 grant for new high-def cameras. We also have more blind spots there than you realize. Hallways we can't see down, playground areas we can't see, a lot of perimeter around the kindergarten building and things like that. So I'm hoping we get that and we can update that. The other thing that we'll do, we upgraded the high school to a different scan card system, and the grade school is still on the old system. So part of this grant, besides cameras, will be to integrate everything into one, the same platform, so that we don't have two different systems running between the buildings. I've got letters of support from the sheriff, I've got letters of support from the emergency management, Jesse Knight, and I've uploaded those as part of the application, just the response and the safety and the security, getting all the doors on the same system, and removing every camera in the grade school and rebuilding with much better cameras. So I'll keep you posted on that. Summer food program, just FYI, begins on June 5, and it will continue through July 14. We'll be getting information out to families about that, what it's going to entail, how you order, where the pickup's going to be. We do have the enrollment date set, if you're curious, for July 26th and July 27th. Another thing that we're doing in an effort to be more efficient, we have activity accounts in both buildings. One of the activity accounts at the high school runs on our Harris FA2 accounting system that we use here at the district office. The grade school uses QuickBooks. I don't know why. All different procedures for pulling money out of activity accounts, so we're going to move all of the activity accounts to be managed by the high school office, and then the grade school can submit their purchase requests, receipts, or whatever else. That will get all of our finances into that Harris FA2 accounting software system, and we don't have something completely different, again, in both buildings. So always trying to streamline, be more efficient, and be more effective. And we've talked to everybody that's involved in those accounts, and as far as managing them and reconciling them, and they seem to think that that will be a good thing to get those in one location and under one system. I would like to echo Mrs. Flynn. Teacher Appreciation Week is this whole week. Everything we do and every success we have starts in the building. And we have tremendous staff, and they do a fantastic job. And I couldn't be more proud, and I can't imagine being anywhere else. So we're doing great things for our kids, and our staff deserves the credit for that in the classroom. You're doing great things for kids here. That's all I got.
Okay. Any other questions for Scott? Okay. Moving on, we have executive session for negotiations. Back to 7. Motion by Jason, seconded by Bree, that USD 298 Board of Education go into executive session at 8:08 for 15 minutes with the superintendent for the purpose of discussing matters relating to employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with representative or representatives of the body or agency, and that the Board of Education return to open meeting at 8:23 p.m. in the Board of Education conference room. The executive session is required to protect the district's right to confidentiality of employer-employee negotiations under COLA. All in favor? Motion carried 7-0.